Hi, fifth grade. It's Miss Conley here today. We are going to be working on Unit 1, Week 3, and we're going to be reading a story called A Walk with Teddy. This week, we are also, for our read aloud, we are also working on the skill of answering questions. So we will have to go back to reread part of the story in order to answer questions about that story. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you, and you'll be able to follow along as we read together. Okay, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger for everybody. And as you can see, A Walk with Teddy is an autobiography. So if we break apart that word, auto means self, like an automobile. It kind of moves itself, right? And then a biography is a story about somebody. So this means that he wrote this himself. So earlier in this unit, we read a story about camping with the president, where that was a biography written by somebody else about him. But this is actually from his own journal that he wrote. So we're going to see how he feels now and what he wrote down. Okay, follow along with me. A Walk with Teddy. Not long after Theodore Roosevelt's camping trip to Yosemite, he took another trip to explore the outdoors. This time, he went to England. Theodore Roosevelt, or Teddy, as he was often called, had always been interested in birds of England, but he only read about them in books. Roosevelt decided to take a walk in the countryside with a naturalist. He wanted to see the birds in person. While on his walk, one type of bird impressed him. He wrote of this encounter in his autobiography. Okay, so we're going to move on and find out what type of bird that was. We left London on the morning of June 9th. Getting off the train at Basingstoke, we drove to the pretty smiling valley of the Itchen. Here we tramped for 3 or 4 hours, then again drove, this time to the edge of the New Forest, where we first took tea at an inn, and then tramped through the forest to the inn on its other side, at Brackenhurst. At the conclusion of our walk, my companion made a list of the birds we had seen. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about the birds. Let's pay close attention. The bird that impressed me the most on my walk was the blackbird. I had already heard nightingales in abundance near Lake Como, but I never heard either blackbird, the song thrush, or the black-capped warbler. And while I knew that all three were good singers, I did not know what really beautiful singers they were. Blackbirds were very abundant, and they played a prominent part in the chorus, which we heard throughout the day. In its habits and manners, the blackbird strikingly resembles our American robin. We're going to pause there for a minute. So I'm going to need you guys to reread paragraph 2 that starts with the bird. And we need to underline words and phrases that show what Theodore Roosevelt learned about the blackbirds. So pause the video, get a piece of paper, a pen, and you're going to answer the question. What did Theodore Roosevelt learn about blackbirds? Write that down. I'll give you a hint. I found 4 things. Pause your video and come back when you found 4 things that Theodore Roosevelt learned about the blackbirds. Okay, did you find the 4 things? So, Theodore Roosevelt learned about the blackbirds, that they were good singers. Now, if I go back here and it says, and while I knew all 3 were good singers, so right there it tells you that they were good singers, that they were abundant, or there were lots of them. Blackbirds were very abundant. There we go. They resemble the robin. Where's that sentence at? In its habits and manners, the blackbird strikingly resembles our American robin. And then that it's a prominent part in the chorus throughout the day. So that meant that that bird in particular was one of the louder birds that he could hear. That if like you were in a chorus or in a church and somebody's voice really stuck out to you, that was the one that you heard, That's how he feels about the bird. So he felt that he heard this bird more often than any of the other birds that were there. Good job if you found all four of those. And we're going to continue. In its habits and manners, the blackbird strikingly resembles our American robin. It harps everywhere over the lawns, just as our robin does. Its song has a general resemblance to that of our robin, but many of the notes are far more musical, more like those of our wood thrush. I certainly do not think that the blackbird received full justice in the books. I knew that he was a good singer, but I really had no idea how fine of a singer he was. Okay, since I need to keep that there. Okay, now you need to circle one sentence that tells about Roosevelt's opinions of blackbirds, and then write it down on your paper. One sentence that tells Roosevelt's opinion of blackbirds. Now remember, an opinion is just how he felt. How did he feel about the blackbirds? Pause your video and come back. Okay, so one opinion Theodore Roosevelt had of blackbirds. The one I found says, where is it? It's right here, kind of to the top. It says, I never heard either the blackbird, the song thrush, or the black-cap warbler. And while I knew all three were good singers, I did not know how beautiful singers they were. So in his opinion, the blackbird is a beautiful singer. Somebody else might not think so. So that is what I found for his opinion. What did you guys find? Was it something similar? Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, this is also from Theodore Roosevelt. A man of action. Roosevelt realized that seeing and hearing these birds in the wild gave him more information than any book. He could see birds in action. He could hear their calls to each other. His experience revealed much about the birds of the country. Roosevelt continued to travel throughout his life. He took every opportunity to study animals in the wild, but his travels also showed him that habitats needed to be protected. In his years as president, Roosevelt worked to preserve land. He established 150 national forests, 4 national parks, and 51 bird reservations. These sites continue to protect the nation's wildlife. Okay, so go back to paragraph 1, which is up here at the top. Circle all the ways that Roosevelt gained information about birds. What are all the ways he got experience and gained information about the birds? Write that down on your paper. Pause your video and come back. Okay, so all the ways he gained information about birds. I really found only 2. It says right here, the first sentence, Roosevelt realized that seeing and hearing these birds in the wild gave him more information than any book. I mean, I guess you could include that he read about them, right? Because that's in there too, so it would be 3. So he saw them, he read them, or he saw them, he heard them, and then he read about them. So that would be 3. If you have those 3, great job. Okay, now we're going down to paragraph 2. Look at the photograph. Let's move this up some for us. Okay. Look at the photograph and the caption. Oh, I need to make that a little smaller. Okay, here's a photograph. The caption says, Roosevelt declared Crater Lake a national park. This lake is the deepest lake in the United States. It has a depth of 1,943 feet. It's pretty deep. Look at the photograph. Underline the words that help you see how Roosevelt took action. So we also need to go back up to this paragraph. So I'm going to have to make that a little bit smaller. I hope you can all read it. Okay, so what words help you know that Roosevelt was taking action? And action was to keep the birds safe and the land safe. So what did he do to keep the birds and the land protected or safe? Write all that down and then come back. Okay, what did we find? How did he keep the birds and the land protected? So if you go back to paragraph 2, which we have on the screen right now, it said that he preserved land, he made national forests, national parks, and bird reservations. And all three of those together protected wildlife. So if you had those answers, great job, everybody. And that is the end of our story for today, I believe. Oh, no, here's another picture. It says, as president, Roosevelt established Pelican Island National Wildlife Refuge. This was the first area set aside by the federal government to protect wildlife. So this is one of the areas that he created to save wildlife and the birds. Great job, everybody. So that is how you go back and find answers. You just go back, reread the paragraph, and find the answers to the text. I hope you had a great time. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye, everybody.